Greetings, adventurer. My name is Jack, and you are on the Infinite Staircase. Few creatures in existence command dominance in the ways of a red dragon. Primordial beasts of fire and scale, they are living embodiments of power. Their strength etched into the very fabric of their being, their fire drawn from the raw elemental fury of the world. From their first moment of existence, they burn with unmatched arrogance, knowing wholeheartedly that they are the rightful rulers of all that they see. A red dragon's power comes from more than just size or magic. Their fire is no simple flame. It is a primal force, an all-consuming inferno that reduces even the stone to slag. Their might is not learned, but inherited, coursing through their blood like rivers of molten lava. They fear nothing, bow to no one, and see all other creatures as either subjects to rule or obstacles to destroy. But what fuels their insatiable greed? What drives their endless hunger for dominance? And what happens when such a force of destruction sets its sights on the mortal kingdoms? Let us look beyond the flames and into the minds of the most fearsome of all dragons, the Red. All aspects of a red dragon's form are built for physical domination. At its foundation lies its legs, thick, muscular limbs that end in massive, talon-tipped claws, each capable of rending steel and crushing stone. Even at rest, the sheer weight of its body presses into the earth, leaving deep impressions wherever it treads. Its tail, long and sinuous, is a weapon in its own right, capable of sweeping aside creatures and smashing through fortifications with a single strike. The dragon's torso is layered in overlapping crimson scales, each one tough as forged metal and reflecting light like burning embers. These scales deepen in hue with age, shifting from bright scarlet in youth to a dark, almost blood-red shade in their later years. Beneath them, a powerful ribcage shields vital organs, and a broad chest allows it to unleash its devastating fire breath without restraint. The dragon's wings, vast and leathery, stretch outward in a display of supremacy, their membranes lined with faint glowing veins that pulse with heat when its fury is stirred. Lining the dragon's back and neck are jagged spines that rise from the skin like sharpened molten rock. A huge, semi-reptilian head adorns its winding neck, and its jaws, lined with rows of serrated teeth, can snap through armor and bone alike. Its snout is long and angular, designed to funnel fire from deep within its core, and billows smoke even when at rest. Its eyes, burning with an inner fire, pierce through the darkness, seeing all before it with a gaze of pure supremacy. Two backwards curving horns crown its skull, growing thicker and more imposing with age, marking its status as an apex predator. From claw to crown, the red dragon is built not just to command fear, but to remind all who bear witness that they stand before something greater, something born to rule. A red dragon's growth is relentless, each stage bringing it closer to the pinnacle of power. From the moment it hatches, its size and strength set it apart from lesser creatures, and with every passing year it becomes an even greater force of destruction. A hatchling is small by dragon standards, with a body only about 3 feet long, plus a matching tail. Though its wings are underdeveloped, it is already strong enough to move with confidence and breathe fire. Even at this stage, it is dangerous, fiercely territorial, and fully aware of its superiority. As it reaches juvenile and young adult stages, the red dragon begins to control its surroundings. By adulthood, its body has grown to 12 to 18 feet long, with a tail stretching up to 21 feet. At this point, it is a true apex predator, its fire hot enough to melt steel, its wings capable of carrying it vast distances, and it no longer needs to choose its battles, and inspires fear in all. A fully mature adult is a living catastrophe. Some individuals grow as large as 40 feet in body length, their sheer mass exceeding 5,000 pounds. They carve out vast territories, claiming mountains, fortresses, and entire regions as their own. But even this is not the peak of their power. The greatest of red dragons, the great worms, are massive beyond reason. Their bodies stretch to over 50 feet, with tails extending 50 more. Their wings blot out the sun. Their fire turns battlefields to molten slag, and their presence alone can reshape history. Size alone does not define a red dragon's power. Some grow lean and wiry, built for speed, while others become thick and muscular, crushing anything in their path. But all follow the same path, from hatchling to ruler, from ruler to legend, until at last they are no longer just dragons, but calamities given form. Red dragons do not mate for companionship or sentiment, they mate for legacy, and even this is dictated by dominance and power. The act is rare, occurring only when the female decides it is time to bear offspring, typically once every century. When this urge arises, she seeks out the most powerful and wealthy male in her vicinity. Strength and hoard size are the only measures of worth, and a male who attracts a female's attention sees it as the highest mark of prestige. To be chosen is not just an honour, it is a proof of superiority over other lesser dragons. Courtship among the red dragons is a dangerous affair. Though males never refuse a female's advances, they are still potential rivals, and their interactions remain tense. Most pairings involve an older, dominant male and a younger, ambitious female, though the opposite can occur. Rarely do red dragons fight over a mate. Such a battle would almost certainly be to the death, and lesser suitors know to withdraw when a superior dragon asserts its claim. Once mating is complete, often the male departs, never returning to the clutch. In some cases, the elder mate is the one to leave, leaving the younger dragon behind to guard the eggs. A female lays 2 to 4 eggs, always deep underground and near sources of extreme heat, such as empty volcanic tunnels, lava flows, or deep geothermal vents. The eggs require extremely high temperatures and can even be fully submerged in molten lava to ensure proper incubation. The female guards them with jealousy and ferocity, occasionally aided by an older, infertile female who shares no maternal ties to the clutch. But while a mother protects her eggs, she does not raise them when they are young. Once hatched, the wormlings are left to fend for themselves, and within months, many will fight and kill their siblings until only one remains, ensuring that only the strongest of the species survive. Those that do not immediately turn on one another cooperate just long enough to grow strong before dispersing. They remain near the nest for a few years, but eventually scatter in search of food and their own lairs. A mother's patience is short-lived. By the time her offspring reach the young adult stage, she no longer sees them as her children, but as competition. When this moment comes, she forces them out of her territory, or kills them if they refuse to leave. On rare occasions, a red dragon will enter a state of temporary insanity after her young depart, attacking anything in her domain, including her former mate and any offspring that linger too long. There are no familial bonds among red dragons. Survival of the fittest and an endless pursuit of power reign supreme. The origins of the red dragon stretch back beyond the dawn of time. Like all true dragons, they trace their lineage to the first dragons to walk the world, their essence shaped by the elemental forces that forged reality itself. But among their kin, red dragons stand apart, not just as the strongest, but as the most ambitious, the most relentless in their pursuit of dominance over others. Some legends say that the first red dragons were born from the heart of volcanoes, their bodies formed from molten rock and their breath drawn from the firestorms of the world's creation. Others claim that they were shaped by the will of Tiamat, the queen of dragons, given form and fury as her most favoured children, meant to rule in her name. Unlike some dragons, who withdraw into seclusion or seek wisdom in their age, red dragons remain ever driven by their hunger for control. Their greed for gold and expensive trinkets extends to land, the creatures that inhabit it, and even to the history it leaves behind. The greatest red dragons carve out vast territories, turning mountains into fortresses and demanding tribute from those who live in their shadow. The most arrogant among them consider themselves living gods, ruling out of necessity, the very concept of submission being unimaginable. Though they acknowledge the existence of other dragons, they see them only as rivals, obstacles, or, at best, useful subordinates. They care nothing for balance, tradition, or ancient treaties, only for wealth and power. A confrontation with a red dragon is never by chance. These creatures do not skulk in the shadows or ambush from the dark. They are lords of the battlefield, fully aware of their strength, and they expect their enemies to know it as well. A red dragon does not fight out of desperation or fear. It fights because it has chosen to. It fights to dominate, to destroy, and to make an example of those who dared extend challenge. A battle against a red dragon often begins long before steel is drawn. Those who enter its domain will find the land itself shaped by its presence. Forests burned to cinders, rivers boiled away, the air thick with smoke and sulphur. It will not tolerate intruders lightly, and most will be warned once, if at all. Should a creature refuse to submit or retreat, a fast display of overwhelming force is sure to follow. In combat, the red dragon is relentless. It does not rely on trickery or deception, as it has no need. Using its wings to dominate the skies, it forces opponents to fight on its terms. From above, unleashing torrents of flame, reducing formations to scattered embers before they can even draw their weapons. If grounded, it should fight with its full arsenal, razor-sharp claws, a crushing tail, and serrated fangs, along with wide bursts of primordial flame. Red dragons are not mindless brutes. They are cunning and capable of great cruelty. They exploit terrain, using the heat of their breath to turn the battlefield into an inferno. They drive enemies towards cliffs, into choke points, or the ruins of structures they themselves have reduced to rubble. They toy with lesser foes, demanding submission before delivering the final blow, relishing in the fear that they inspire. These creatures hold no doubt in their abilities. They never hesitate or second guess, nor do they even believe in the possibility of defeat. Now, to talk about some of the most powerful red dragons in existence, starting with the one known as Ashaldalon. Ashaldalon is an ancient red dragon whose lifespan and power have been extended through fiendish augmentation. By fusing his essence with infernal energy, he halted the natural decline of his body, granting himself unnatural longevity and regeneration. This infusion also enhanced his breath weapon, increasing its destructive potential beyond that of a typical great worm. His influence spans multiple worlds, suggesting an ability to traverse planes or sustain his presence across realities. More than just a dominant predator, Ashaldalon is a fusion of draconic strength and infernal resilience, making him one of the most enduring and formidable red dragons known. T'Chazar was a red dragon who transcended his species' typical role as a predator, becoming a conqueror, ruler, and later a god-king to the people of Chesenta. Unlike most dragons who hoard wealth in isolation, T'Chazar used his power to shape civilizations, presenting himself as a mortal warlord before revealing his true nature. Through military strategy and manipulation, he united Chesenta under his rule, securing worship that elevated his status beyond mere draconic dominance. His disappearance and later return as an undead entity further cemented his legend, proving that his influence extended far beyond death. T'Chazar was not just a dragon of brute strength, but one of calculated ambition, using political and divine power to achieve supremacy. The ancient red dragon Clorth, also known as Old Snarl, is one of the most strategically adept of his kind, ruling over the spine of the world with an iron grip. Unlike most of his kind, who eventually fall to rivals or adventurers, Clorth has maintained his dominance for centuries through preemptive elimination of potential threats. He does not wait for challenges to come to him, he destroys them before they rise. His mastery of magic, combined with his extensive knowledge of dragonkind, allows him to manipulate events from the shadows, ensuring his rule remains unchallenged. Unlike younger red dragons who rely on brute force, Clorth's survival is the result of strategy, paranoia, and calculated cruelty. To the creatures of the spine, he is less a dragon and more a force of nature, ever present and watching, ensuring that no other red dragon dares encroach on his territory. Balagos, also known as the Flying Flame, is a red dragon whose ambition extends beyond the ruling of a single domain. His reign over the Starspire Mountains is enforced through calculated extermination. Having spent centuries hunting and eliminating rival dragons to cement his supremacy, the elves have given him the nickname Dragon's Bane. His mastery over fire surpasses that of most other great worms, and he is obsessed with the idea of dragonkind's ultimate evolution, believing that only the strongest and most ruthless deserve to exist. He sees himself as the pinnacle of that evolution, a force meant to shape the future of all dragons. His hunger for dominance over all is not limited to combat. He studies magic extensively, hoarding arcane knowledge alongside gold, seeking ways to extend his life indefinitely. He is one of the few dragons to actively seek the path to Draco-lichdom, not out of fear of death, but as a means to transcend physical limitations and achieve true immortality. His paranoia fuels his relentless expansion as he constantly reinforces his defenses and watches for threats, ensuring that no mortal or dragon should challenge what he considers his rightful ascension. And lastly, the one known as a Phelamon, a red dragon whose influence extended beyond the material plane, securing an alliance between dragonkind and the Githyanki. As the consort of Lich Queen Vlaakith, he brokered the pact that bound red dragons to the Githyanki war effort, ensuring their dominance in astral conflicts. His gift of the Githyanki scepter cemented this agreement, granting the Queen's warriors the rights to command red dragons as war mounts, while also expanding his kin's reach across planes. Through this act, a Phelamon ensured that his species would remain a force in astral warfare, shaping the fate of entire civilizations through a single decisive bond. Overall, red dragons are creatures of fire, dominance, and unrelenting ambition. From the moment they hatch, they are driven by an instinct to conquer, growing in size and power until they become the uncontested rulers of their territories. Their presence reshapes the land, their mating and parenting driven by ruthless pragmatism, ensuring only the strongest survive. Their battles are not fought for survival, but for supremacy, overwhelming foes with sheer force and an unwavering belief in their own superiority. Their hordes are more than collections of wealth. They are symbols of power, proof of their victories, and tools for extending their influence. They do not tolerate rivals, even among their own offspring, forcing them out or destroying them when they become a threat. Every aspect of their existence is dictated by the pursuit of dominance, and those who enter their domain either submit or burn. I hope the knowledge you've gained here aids you on your travels, and if you liked your time here, I have left a box for any feedback near the door, along with a handy device to alert you when I'm ready to next discuss more creatures. Safe travels, adventurer.